All right, guys, welcome to The Motive, where we discuss a reason for doing something, especially one that is not obvious. Today, I'm talking with Mike with homeloanplanners.com. Is that right, Mike?
That is our
That is
domain,
it.
yeah.
Okay. We're going to be talking today a little bit about the power of technology, how we use it in our business, how we make our business grow, have a discussion for how it applies or how it doesn't apply and what we kind of or foresee for the future as well. So this is a topic that I think we both geek out on. We love, like I mentioned earlier, know enough to be dangerous. And I think if you aren't using it, you will get further and further left in the dust with your business or whatever you do, even your day-to-day life. So different era, different future, faster things happening.
Love that. It's I agree with a lot of the things that you said. I'm using Chat GPT heavily in my business, in my, like you just noted towards, in my day-to-day life, right? Like, it was trying to become my therapist mid conversation, and I'm like, all right, thank you. I appreciate that you're here for me, but I'm trying to get to the answer of something.
The session's over.
But I didn't know how much it was going to charge me,
Right.
right? But no, I mean, in all reality, I think one of the some of the biggest ways that I use it is more on like ideation, really just sort of this back and forth conversational sort of thing, and sometimes I need to maybe feed it additional information to have it understand more so of what I'm looking for. One thing I want to sort of emphasize that you said, like, the computer, when either that computer concept of don't be the only one without the
Yeah.
computer. I think everybody, or I shouldn't say everybody, but I do feel like a lot of people have this fear, right, of AI. Like, oh, AI is, robots are just going to come and take over. And I think AI really, if we look at when the internet came out, that was AI in
Right.
itself.
Right.
Then there's the other concept of, I hear this quote all the time, and I think it's so true, is that AI is not going to replace us, but the people who are utilizing and leveraging AI will. To your point, there's things that I can get done a lot faster, right? So some of the top, I'd say the top three ways that I use AI in my business is: one, on ideation, two, on organization of data, and three, to help me analyze with, me and you are data nuts, right? So one example, and this could kind of feed off of the second, is I can drop an Excel spreadsheet into there, and now it can become interactive. I can start to ask it questions about the data to start to refine things. So, and I'd say also the biggest thing that, because I tie two and three together, but I think really the biggest thing when I say ideation is like that content repurposing, right? I'm able to take maybe a clip from what you and I are talking about here, and then have it turn that into a 800 word LinkedIn article for me, and then a script for, or maybe a short written Facebook post, have it transcribe and summarize. So I could go on all day on these little things, but I think, embracing it and not being afraid of it is more important than anything.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's beyond what you even can think of. Like no matter what you think of, it can do. Right. That's kind of my experience with it. I mean, I started working with like the Chat GPT when it first came out. You probably did too. What is it? Like a little over 2 years now or 3 years? I don't even know.
Yeah.
So it knows us pretty good. And in that time, I've used it, whether it's just content creation or creating a spreadsheet of all the fields that you want, or loading a spreadsheet, like you said, into it, or writing code. I mean, I've used it, and I'm obviously, I'm not a smart man. I'm not a technology guy, but I can write code to create a calculator to put in a website, for example, and it does it for me. And it analyzes all this, and it does my kids' schoolwork for them. Don't tell their teachers. And yeah, I mean, I wrote a 14-page, I think I told you this, implementation guide on how to set up software to give to developers a better metric system and how to develop that and stuff like that. So yeah, it's beyond what you can use. I talked to somebody yesterday, interviewing somebody, and they liked it just because it was make sure their spelling was correct. But I think whatever your business is and however you can use it, use it. Like you said, it might
Right.
not replace people. And I mean, I kind of feel like it will replace people, but certain industries, maybe 30 years down the road or 40 years down the road, right? And it will replace jobs, but it'll also create jobs because people have to know how to manage it and know how to use or graphic designs or any of that stuff, right? So we're creating a whole nother industry, just like the industrial industry, just like, the computers and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's exciting. Again, me and you will go down dark holes if we talk about it too much and just get super excited and get obsessed with it. And that might be a good thing. It might be a bad thing. But if you're using your,
Well, it only becomes bad. I don't want to look for it right now and waste the time. But my girl had sent me just this funny thing about like ChatGPT because sometimes she'll ask me like, "Who are you talking to?" And she's like, "Who are you just on the phone with? It's 1 o'clock in the morning." I'm like, "I'm not on the phone. I'm talking to ChatGPT." And she'll just roll her eyes at me, right? But but that's how much I use it.
what's your view? Obviously, we're in the mortgage business and you're and the mortgage planning business as well for you, right? So what are your views like what the systems or future systems are going to be out there for you, how it's going to affect your business of what you do, how you do it today versus say 2 years, 5 years down the road? What impact does that have?
That's a great question. So I've already seen it start to change some of the landscape. I think I'll give you an example on the mortgage planning side. And for anybody that doesn't know what that is, that's just really the concept of being there before, during, and then well after the closing with a heavy emphasis on retirement planning. So we work alongside a lot of financial advisors, CPAs, estate planning attorneys. But in all reality, I wanted to put it to the test against what an advisor was trying to say. One of the clients and me and the advisor, of course, were working side by side. I wasn't going against him. I took the information that he put in the email and I finally used the deep research thing that I had told you I hadn't used it yet. Well, I used it yesterday and I dropped in what the advisor said and I said, "Well, could you think of any other strategies or maybe a different index or whatever it may be?" And then I told it. I said, "My goal is we're trying to stretch this client's money to at least age 95. The client's like 78, but in super good health. And now their portfolio is starting to, yeah, especially with what's going on in the stock market right now, get a little bit worried." So we incorporated, some of the stuff with the advisor, some financial products, the reverse mortgage, and I gave it all of that data. And it actually came back to me with a revised plan. And I'm like, it sounds great, but let me call the advisor. So I emailed the advisor and I call him and I'm like, "Listen, this is not me challenging your advice. I just went into ChatGPT and gave it what I thought and what you thought and asked it basically to poke holes or find anything that we might be missing. What do you think about?" And I asked him the few things that it had listed. And he's like, "Mike, I didn't even think of
So
that."
you're doing Doge with your planners. Got it.
Doge with
I'm
my
making you more
plan.
efficient. We're finding the holes here. All right.
It was impressive, man. I mean, it found a different, without getting too technical on that side, but regardless, it was one of the things that we had was tied to the S&P 500. Client was a little bit concerned with what's going to happen in the stock market, kind of over the next 10 years, especially in their age. They're not, they shouldn't be chasing high returns at age 78. That can be detrimental to somebody in retirement. But when we started to look at maybe some different indexes and maybe again it was talking about why some people are moving to indexes that are not tied to the S&P 500, at least maybe for the next 10 years. It was mind blowing because and then I started to really like go back and forth. Sometimes I could tell it. I was like, "No, you're wrong because of this." then usually it'll say like you're right, and it'll agree with
Right.
you. This time it wasn't agreeing with me because it was math, right? It was a mathematical equation, and it's like
You're wrong on
no,
this
but
one. I know this
you're
one.
wrong. You're right. They're like, take a seat, Mike.
Yeah.
We know you like to tell us we're
Well,
wrong a lot, but
if you're using like Elon's version or Gronk or whatever, it'd probably be like cursing you out for trying to argue.
yeah, I think that's the unhinged version, right? I saw that on the Rogan podcast. Yeah, that one is a little bit ruthless, and I guess
If you want to be put in your
if you ever
place and
need some
be,
tough
yeah, if you're
love,
like one of those people like, I want somebody to beat me up and I love
yeah,
them even though they
yeah,
push me down
yeah,
the stairs, then go to that one, I guess. Switch your gears
right,
over.
right. It's like a drill sergeant from the
Yeah, right.
military.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get beat up a little bit, you're into that thing, go for it. Pick your AI. You want
Pick
to
your
pick your
AI. There you
AI.
go. That's funny.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it does a lot. And like I said, that's just right now. By the time we actually put this video out, there'll probably be even more features and deep research. Like you said before, there's an entertainment side of it and there's a information education side of it too. And it's how you're going to apply it. So in business, we're definitely going to be, the entertainment might be fun for creatives or posts and stuff like that, but we will really find ways to implement it into what we do. Things that we have difficulties with, like in our business, maybe calculating income, which nobody could ever figure out and do right. Well, let AI do it, like you just said, or the formula calculation work, or probably, in my opinion, even the risk assessment of qualifying that Fannie Mae and the AUSs that they use, or the guidelines that they use, just in other industries. I think insurance will probably have that be a risk assessment for life insurance or property insurance if it's not already being implemented, right? So those are things
Correct.
where if you could take out human error and human time waste from those types of those key roles and have it be replaced by something that's 1,000 times faster and more accurate, then why wouldn't you do it? And then let the people do
Agreed.
the you know personal rules of the job, right? Or the management of it, or the finding other ways to implement it and make automations and all that kind of stuff, right? That's a human touch that we can do with stuff across industries. So I think it's really cool. I'm excited for it. I know not everybody's with me. SEO is going to probably be making a shift or a change because it's not really needed like it was before. As you mentioned, bye bye hashtags, right? But do you really, if you go to Google Chrome right now and you type something in and their Genesis AI pops up, right, with the answer, it's not really SEO, or maybe the SEO is built into how the AI tracks it or something like that. But the keywords and the hashtags and stuff like that aren't going to be needed as much because, and you could correct me if I'm wrong because you probably know more about this. When you're searching for something, the hashtags that we used to want to do are replaced by keywords, not only in the text of like a description, but also in the voice of what's being portrayed. Is that correct? Yeah.
Spot on.
So you
Spot on.
don't really even need
So
to
it's
say
going to
anything.
transcribe every. Yeah, so it's going to transcribe everything that you and I are saying right now, and it's going to say, okay, well, this is, Jared and Mike are talking about technology and AI. It's going to look for keywords, especially words that like keyword search phrases, right? Like, what is the best AI? So there's all these things that are coming in and I like his content around it because a lot of the stuff that he shares is not saying, you got some companies saying like SEO is completely dead. And I don't think that's true. I think it's more SEO is just completely changing because of technology and AI. Yes, it's
Yeah, there we
evolving.
go. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen Neil quite a bit of stuff on YouTube or whatever that I've watched. And yeah, another guy that brings a lot of knowledge and value that I get excited about. So I tell you, man, I geek out on
Yeah.
this stuff. Like, don't get me on a couple YouTube videos. You'll see me checked out the rest of the day, just like going deep down the rabbit hole and trying to apply it and see if I can make it work.
Then you bring up another great point, right? Like a lot of people are like, Chat GPT sucks or Gemini sucks or whatever. And again, I think it's the the output is based on how good the input is, right? So, it's not the better we can frame questions or directions, and sometimes I split it into multiple different replies, right? So that it's not trying to, because if I send it something this, I keep doing that. And if I send it something this long, right, and it's like 1,000 words, it can get confused. But if I drop maybe a paragraph and say, okay, I do this, and then now I add the next thing that I want it to do, instead of trying to do that all in one sentence, I found that helps it, because then it only really needs to focus on one specific outcome at a time, instead of,
Hmm.
when I go in there, I'm like, I need you to do this, and this, and I put it all into one thing. Now I've been starting to say, okay, let me put the first thing in, then start refining, so on and so forth from
That's a good
there.
point. I'm going to try talking to it a little bit more like that because, well, I mean, I think honestly, what I found is it's no different than talking to people. Like, you know how some people could ask the question, 10 people could ask the same question different ways, and you're going to get 10 different answers, right? And I notice the same way. A lot of people that buy businesses, for example, are buying aged out businesses, right? Like the old business that has no website or no presence or bad systems, and they're buying it and then they make it better, right? They make it efficient, they give it a better presence, they make it more systematic. And then they might sell that business off or operate it at a lot higher margin and revenue. Do that, think that same strategy in your life or your business, right? How do you take this? Well, we're horrible at consistently following up with our clients, or we're horrible with I don't know, getting notified or keeping our calendar organized or whatever. Well, then use it for those things, right? Wherever you're not good at, or whatever you're not good at doing, or you're slow or not that good, apply it there. And if you don't know how to apply it, find somebody who does know how to apply it and have them work it into your business. And if you can do that, and you could find little improvements, like it's not going to be, I mean, it might be life changing, but whenever I do anything, I'm looking at like, is it 1 or 2% better? Great. That works for me. And then I have a lot more free time on my hand. So that's how
Love
we,
that.
that's how we
I
want to
love that.
apply it. Like, yeah, however you can, whatever it is, being ahead of it. But we're all different. Like my wife's business is totally different than mine. How would I apply it to hers? Is like, cause she's a beauty studio, right? Well, we could replace a receptionist, for example, by having that out there, save on cost, be more efficient, and but not take away from the artist side of it, right? Which is where we want to keep the focus at. In our mortgage business, my vision is that a lot of it is up front. We're like professional loan officers, for example, spend a lot of time doing busy work, as we call it, the paper and the follow up and the little stuff. Well, we want to replace that so they can do the high value, high dollar job of actually running the numbers, working the situation, fixing the problem that was found, and helping a homeowner out, right?
And I love that you said that, because I think that part where you're saying, you know, it is for us to focus on the higher value or higher impact activities. But I think an important note to add to that is because we're the humans that have. They could say AI is going to incorporate empathy all they want, not to the level of it just can't, it can't, the human empathy factor, right, like, is not gonna, the AI is not gonna care about necessarily getting the client into the house, or within the contract time frame as much as we may, or fixing the problem for the client as much as we care about it, right? Or understanding all the different dynamics that are going on. The when a client's buying or refinancing a home, they've got all these different emotions that are going on that, in all reality, we have to help them manage. But I think a lot of that comes through empathy and us actually caring about the client, and then using, like you said, AI to come in and do all the stuff that, for me, that maybe I suck at,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Uh,
It's going to be more
you
analytical
know,
right now, right? It doesn't have the emotional side that we have yet. So, yeah, that's where it's not going to have that empathy or sympathy for your clients of what you need to do, or maybe how they're feeling about it. For example, making the pictures and videos in AI. I'm not a fan. I don't think they really got there. It
No,
doesn't
me
have
either.
that vision yet. Again, everything I say is yet because eventually it's going to
Yeah,
come.
yeah.
But yeah, use it for those kind of things. Like I said, it'll replace certain things over time. So
Right.
it's interesting. I'm excited to see where it goes and how it changes.
I agree. And I think you said something really important earlier too, is that yes, while it replaces jobs, it is also going to create new ones, right? Maybe that doctor in 30 years that it replaces is the doctor is still needed, but maybe the doctor is using the machines and whatever it may be. And my point is I think it is there is some stuff 100% that is just going to be completely eliminated by AI, but so it was the same thing like you said with when computers came out,
Hmm.
right? Everybody's like, oh, they're going to take over the world. No, it changed the landscape of how we do
Yeah.
everything.
Mike, I appreciate this chat. We will continue talking more about technology on and off the camera because we're undercover nerds, man.
We are
We're,
nerds, man. What are we going to do
yeah,
about it?
exactly. Embrace it. Embrace it. So again, I value your time. Thank you for going over this and talking about it. We'll continue to nerd out.
Oh, brother, thank you so much for having me on. I always learn so much from you. I'm constantly picking your brain, and again, just I'm glad to be on here with you, man. You're a good friend, a good mentor, and just again, I love your positive outlook on this. I think that's just who you are as a person, and it allows you to embrace things and take things to the next level, man. So thanks so much for having me
No,
on.
thank you, man. Appreciate that. Love it. Love it. All right, guys. Till next
Thank
time.
you, brother, man.
Peace.